Hello, hello, hello. Are you ready to get started? Are you ready to be creative? Are you ready to be innovative? Well, here's what I need you to do. If you do not have paper and pen to write on, go ahead and pause this video, get something to write on, because I'm going to need you to do a couple of things for me. So pause me now, get something to write with. If you're ready to go, let's keep going. I want you to stop and think for just a second. Stop and think about your last few hours. And I want you to think of something out of the ordinary that you noticed. Something. Now pause me for a second, take a second, and write that down. Okay. Now that you've written something out of the ordinary that you noticed, let's think about that just a little bit deeper. Is this something that you noticed off the beaten path? Is this something that you noticed that was a problem that needed to be solved? Did you notice it was different at the moment you saw it? Or did you have to stop and retrace your steps to realize it was something different? You see, entrepreneurs have to always be looking for opportunities. And the way that we look for opportunities is by being constantly aware. So if it was really hard for you to think of something out of the ordinary, then we might need to think about opening that part of our brain again. You see, creativity comes from thinking in a different way than you have been thinking during the educational process. See, there's a lot of people out there who think they can't be creative, who think they can't come up with ideas for businesses. And honestly, I'm just going to call bull crap on that. It's not true. Anyone can be creative and anyone can come up with good ideas. I asked you before this class to review Timmons' model of entrepreneurship and to also look at the business canvas. I'm assuming that you've had this information in 3D6, but if you haven't, I'm going to go through it just a little bit for you today and talk about it on a pretty high level. And then assume that you know this, because this is what 3D7 is predicated upon. 3D7 is building upon creativity portion of our brain so that we can be innovative and come up with ideas to solve problems and make money doing it. Now, the Timmons model of entrepreneurship that I ask you to read is pretty intuitive. You see, Timmons said, all businesses are market driven. Now, what does he mean by that? Market driven. What it means is, really put simply, is that businesses that are successful are businesses that the customers want and are demanding to have. And if it's something that we want, it means it solves something for us. So that gets me to the first tenet of class. All businesses exist to solve a problem. The successful businesses are the ones that many people in the market want solved and that they're willing to pay for. Timmons' model talks about market demand, and he breaks it down into 3 parts. And he talks about the team, which is something that you're going to learn how to build in 3D6. We're going to talk about that in depth. He also talks about resources, which we talk about some in 3D7. And then he also talks about the opportunity. The opportunity is a huge part of the entrepreneurial process. And 3D7 is going to be about finding the best opportunities, creating them, evaluating them, and the best way to take them to market. So if you have questions about Timmons' model of entrepreneurship or what the basic tenets of it are, email me, let me know. Otherwise, just remember these important parts. The successful entrepreneurial ventures are market-driven, meaning they solve a problem for a lot of people in the market, and everyone in the market that it solves that problem for is willing to pay for it. That's basically Timmons' model of entrepreneurship. Now in 3D6, we also learn a lot about the business canvas and how to get a really good picture or idea of whether or not the opportunity we're looking at is really something that we should pursue. You see, I just fully believe that businesses that have done all of their due diligence prior to opening, and businesses that have decided that the risk is such that they're willing to take it, shouldn't fail. The reason most businesses fail is because entrepreneurs get impatient and they get excited and they start their business with the assumption that everyone in the market's going to love their idea as much as they do and that everyone's going to want it as much as they do. But that's just not true. I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs over the years, and I have found that 90% of them think that everybody in the market's going to love their idea as much as they do. And it's just not true. So we all have to pause. We have to take a step back once we come up with an idea, and we have to do some due diligence and some homework to make sure that this idea is truly an opportunity. And the way that we do that is by filling in the components of the business canvas. Now I'm going to share screen here with you for a moment, and we're going to bring up the business canvas. And we're going to talk about the different components of the business canvas. Now, the business canvas makes an assumption when we start filling it in. It assumes, first of all, that we have identified the problem we want to solve. It assumes that we've already come up with the solution. And it assumes we've done some homework to make sure that the market really wants it. So we've got to do all of that work first. But once we have done that work, and you'll learn how to do all of that in 3D6 if you have not taken the class already, don't fret, you're going to learn it. Once we do all of that, then we can write a value proposition, which is the first component of the business canvas. A value proposition is a statement written for the customer that tells the customer how we solve their problem and how we do it better than any of our competitors. And it tells them why they should choose us. Why? So we can write the value proposition. But if the value proposition is written for the customer, then that lets us know that we have to have filled in the second component, customer segments of the business canvas as well. Because we can't write a value proposition for a customer if we don't know who the customer is. Now, we will do something called customer validation in 3D6. And this is where we test this hypothesis that we can solve a problem, that the customer's going to want it, and we can do it better than our competitors, and that these are the specific customers that are going to want this problem solved. In the beginning, when we do it, it's just like any other scientific process. We have made an educated guess. It is our hypothesis. So with the value proposition and the customer segments, we will do something called customer validation and test this. Most of the time, we'll make some tweaks to our value proposition and our customer segments based on the information we find in customer validation. And once we've done that, then we can move on to the other components of the business canvas. The next part we will look at is something called channels. Now, channels encompasses a few things, but basically what it is an outline of how we're going to get our information and our product to the customer. We can have a really great solution, but if our customers don't know we exist, then it doesn't matter because no one's going to be buying our opportunity. So here we have to really outline how we're going to get the information to our customers, which is by choosing the proper marketing channels. We also have to outline here how we're going to get the actual product to our customers. Now, there's quite a bit that goes into this, and we talk about this, like I said, in 3D6, but I just want to review all of this for you. So if you are in 3D6 right now, you can follow along with the conversation in 3D7 in case it gets a little bit ahead of you, or if you have already had 3D6, that this is a good review for you. So we've outlined the value proposition. We know who our customer segments are. We know how we're going to get the information and the product to them. Now we need to make sure we know exactly what type of relationship we're going to establish and maintain with our customers. Relationships are everything. If we don't establish good ones and we don't maintain them, we will not be successful. If you look through the information in the slides, you'll notice that there are several types of customer relationships that we can establish. Whether it's personal assistance, it's going to be a person helping you. Dedicated personal assistance, it's the same person helping you every time. Maybe it's a self-serve relationship, such as when we go pump gas. We never have a conversation with anyone unless we have a problem, but we have established a good relationship and that gas pump has made it super customer friendly for us. So we'll talk about customer relationships in depth. Once we have figured out the right side of the business canvas, then we now know how we can start to make money. We're going to talk about revenue streams. Hopefully we have more than one. We never want to put all our eggs in one basket, but we will list out our revenue streams in the bottom portion of the business canvas. Once we know everything in the right side of the business canvas, we can start looking at the left side. And on the left side, the first place we'll start is under key resources. These are all the things that we're going to need to have to be able to operate business. Obviously, we're going to need money. We need money to make money. So we're going to need to put money here. Some of the other things we'll need are we're going to need people. So we're going to need human capital. And key resources, we're going to list several of them here, but there's no universal key resources that every business is going to need because all businesses are very, very different. The resources that Chick-fil-A are going to need are very, very different than the key resources that a car wash are going to need. And it's very important that we think through all of the things that we'll need so that we can be sure that we have the ability to obtain them and that we have them on hand so we can be successful. We're also going to need to know what all of the activities are that we need to accomplish to make this business successful. And that is what we're going to list under key activities. Now think about it this way. Key activities are everything that any person is going to need to do to make a business such as this successful. Now it takes some time to list out all the key activities. And the truth is this is a very lengthy list that does not fit in that small little square. But you need to think them through to make sure we don't miss anything. And we're going to list out key activities here. We'll also need to think through who are the key partners that we'll need to have to make our business successful. If we're going to have a business such as Chick-fil-A that's going to be open in the Ferg, obviously a key partner we're going to have is the University of Alabama. Another key partner that we may have to have are the people associated with Dining Dollars. If we don't have the university on board and we don't have Dining Dollars on board, then we can see the absence of those partnerships would not help us have a successful business. So we need to think through who are the partners that we'll need to have. This is going to be very different for every business. Once we know partnerships, activities, resources, what our marketing plan is, how we'll distribute our product, and how we'll maintain relationships, then we can start to list out the costs associated with our business. We'll put the cost structure here. We'll do some financials in 386, and what we hope is revenue streams create more than the cost structure so that we have profit. Now, I'm telling you all of this and giving you a really quick overview of Timmons' model of entrepreneurship and the business canvas, because these are the key things that you're going to need to know and understand to be successful throughout the semester in 387. Take quite a bit of time to look over the slides that I provided that talk about the business canvas, to read over the article that I gave you about Timmons' model of entrepreneurship, and be sure you have a really good understanding of these concepts. If you have any questions, email me at rsimpson@cba.ua.edu, or set up a Zoom meeting on my Calendly link, which is also on Blackboard or on ginasimpson.online, and we'll set a time to talk you through these. But this is just a quick overview, the way that I want to start the semester. This is a good overview for people who've already completed 386, but this also introduces those of you who are taking 386 and 387 concurrently to some of the concepts that you're going to need to understand so that you can be successful in both classes. This is a really fast overview. Please watch this video as many times as you need to get a good understanding of it, or just reach out to me. Stay tuned, because next class we're really going to start the creativity and innovation portion of this. Hold on to that notebook paper where you started to notice something out of the ordinary, because entrepreneurial awareness is going to be what we build on. I'll see you next class.